démosle una cálida bienvenida al actor Henry Cavill. Welcome to Mexico. We're very happy to have you here. And I want to start this press conference asking you, as an actor, how did you manage to develop the three different sides of your character, Cal, Clark, and Superman, while keeping them together as a whole?
Well, thank you. My name is.
Well, in my mind, Clark, Cal, and Superman are all very much the same character, just different facets of. The way I like to think of it is, when at work, we behave one way. When at home, we behave another way. And when we're doing something in particular which may be out of character but heroic, for example, is another way, and that'd be the Superman thing. Ultimately, it's all the same. We're all the same person in those different roles. We're just playing different roles depending on the environment we're in.
Bueno, vamos a comenzar con la primera pregunta. Corre a cargo de Televisa Espectáculos. Jorge Ugalde tiene la palabra.
Right here. First of all, welcome to Mexico City. And since you realized to coming to Mexico City to do this conference, what do you think about this country? Not only as you as a person, almost as your career. Do you know some Mexican directors and you want to work with them?
Well, it's my first time in Mexico, and so I'm very happy to be here. And I haven't got to see Mexico City yet at all, so I got in late last night. But hopefully, after this trip, I'll want to come back and see the city and explore the country a bit more. As far as directors go, I'd love to work with Guillermo del Toro. He's a fantastic and very, very talented director, and a very nice man too. So fingers crossed I get that opportunity.
La siguiente pregunta es por parte de Prodigy MSN y es Alejandra Cruz Quinto, está encargada de hacer la pregunta.
Hi, Henry.
Hi.
Welcome to Mexico. There are some roles that you couldn't make in part-time movies. Do you think that Man of Steel was waiting for you? Do you believe in destiny?
I don't know if I believe in destiny. I do believe that this is a wonderful opportunity, and if the other roles had happened before, then I wouldn't have this opportunity. I'm just very, very thankful to be sitting here attached to such a wonderful movie with so many talented people involved.
Vamos ahora con 15 a 20, Valeria Contreras, por favor.
Hello.
Hi, I'm a huge fan. What do you think? Did you ever think that? I'm a huge fan. I'm very nervous. Did you ever think that you would be working with a star like Russell Crowe in the most anticipated movie of the summer?
No, I never thought that, especially after I met him when I was 16 years old at boarding school. He was working there, I was an extra, and I went up and shook his hand. And there wasn't a second then that I thought 13 years later we'd be about to release a movie together. So I'm incredibly happy and just very, very excited to have everyone see this movie. You're very welcome.
La siguiente pregunta es de Círculo Mix Up, Jacqueline Sánchez.
Hello, Henry. I was wondering, how did you manage to create such a unique character amongst all these new superhero movies? How did you prepare yourself mentally to get all that innocence and such a pure soul character?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
With Superman, I think there's so much in the comic books from the source material which we haven't seen before. There is a genuine innocence to the character because he's never truly been able to express himself. If you can imagine what it's like going through life, never having hugged someone so tight, you could just squash them. The problem with Superman is that he actually would, and so he never has that human connection. And it's that sense of detachment and loss and loneliness in the character, while not being overpowering, while not making him morbid, but just that sense of being alone that lends a very, very strong innocence to the character, purely because he's so powerful, and we all know it. And that's pretty much what I focused on to create that.
Vamos ahora a pedirle a Liz Gil, de Cine en Línea, que haga la siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Welcome to Mexico, Henry.
Thank you.
Lo vas a hacer en español. Me gustaría saber, porque sabemos que durante algunos castings no tuviste la suerte de llegar a conseguir el papel que querías, como lo fue con Harry Potter o James Bond o en Twilight. ¿En qué momento qué estabas haciendo cuando recibiste esa llamada de Zack? Cuando te dijo que ibas a ser Superman, ¿y a quién fueron las primeras personas que le dijiste?
I was actually playing computer games at the time, and it was an online game, and so I didn't have the opportunity to pause it. You know, you're playing teams, and people rely on you to do your job in that team, and it was at a high point of the game, and so the phone rings. I don't even look at the phone. I'm just playing. I'll answer it later. I'll call that person back. At the last second, I look down. I see Zack Snyder calling, so I dive for the phone, try to answer it. I miss the call. And I'm thinking, oh great, I just ruined my career because of World of Warcraft. And I'm sure a lot of people have thought as well. And then I tried calling him back. I didn't get an answer. Then eventually he got a hold of me. And he sort of tricked me. He was talking to me like he was letting me down easy and he wasn't going to give me the role. And then eventually he said, basically Henry, I was just calling to see if you wanted to do a little movie with me. And at which point, after that, it felt very surreal. I wasn't prepared for yes, because of all the other movies which had gone before, and all the effort and time I put into that, and hope. I expected no, just because that was standard procedure. And then when it finally came to yes, I didn't know how to react. And so I sat there quite quietly for about 15 minutes, just trying to work out whether this actually happened or whether I just dreamt it. And then I tried to call my parents and my brothers, and not one of them picked up. So I was left alone with this crazy thought of thinking, am I going completely insane now? But then eventually everyone did, and I got to share it.
Gracias. Grupo Fórmula, por favor, Eric Gallardo.
Acá. Bueno, muy buenos días, Henry, bienvenido a México. Muchas felicidades por la interpretación de este personaje tan bien hecho. Lo primero que te voy a preguntar es, ¿alguna vez pensaste en usar ese tipo de capa? Todos los niños la usan y supongo que en algún momento tú también la usaste. ¿Tú alguna vez viste el primer Superman que hubo en la pantalla? ¿Qué es lo que piensas ahora de este Superman que tú haces con referencia a ese Superman? Y la última pregunta que te quiero hacer es, ¿qué hay de diferente en Henry Cavill antes de Superman y después de Superman?
I'm going to try and work out which question to answer first. Yes, I wore a cape as a kid, of course. I think we all did at some stage, running around the garden. I never thought that I'd actually be doing this professionally. I never thought that this would come around, especially after the first time, where it was very unbelievable that was happening. I think I was about 21 years old, and it was crazy, and then it didn't happen. And so that sort of cemented the idea that that was never going to happen in my head. And now it's an amazing opportunity to be a part of it. I'm just trying to remember your other questions.
About the character of Superman in the movie.
Oh, okay, the character of Superman in the movie. What is important about this movie is that we have made Superman for a modern age. And what Superman was when he was first seen in a past era had exactly the same effect on that audience. If we had that Superman appear on the screens these days, beg your pardon, sorry? It wouldn't have the same effect as it did then. And we have just evolved the character to have that exact same effect. And hopefully it does. Fingers crossed.
La siguiente pregunta es del diario Imagen y pedimos que se ponga aquí Fernando García.
Hi Henry, welcome to Mexico.
Thank you.
If Superman is an ideal of hope, the actor who plays the role becomes a legend and iconic. Are you ready to deal with this? And how does it feel to be in the suit of Superman?
No, I'm not ready to deal with it at all. I don't think there's any way you can prepare for that. I'm starting to get an idea of what it's like. And although it's new, it's very exciting at the same time. It's just something I'm going to embrace. I'm going to ride that wave and roll with the punches if they come. What's it like wearing the suit? The suit's very special. It has a special energy to it, almost like a physical force. I keep on likening it to if two people were to cook through a meal and there were the same ingredients in each meal and you were just as hungry every time you ate it. But for one reason or for some reason, one of the meals is that much better. And that's because the person who cooked it put love into it. And when it comes to the suit, the same thing. Anyone could have put this suit together with the same measurements, the same concepts, but for some reason this was incredibly special because people put love and attention and they had a genuine respect and importance held for the character. So it felt, you put it on, as much as the suit was slightly uncomfortable, when you put it on, you feel different. I felt very, very different. And everyone around me treated me very differently as well. And so I can't quite put my finger on it, but the suit has something very special.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
La siguiente pregunta es de Uno TV. Le pedimos a Iván Zapata que haga su pregunta.
Henry, hey man, thank you so much for putting on that essay. It was great, it was great. Okay, first of all, since 1938, since the character first came out, it's been evolving. You said it yourself, it's been evolving, but right now, Superman is kind of like clustered into this like naivety, and he's kind of ignorant, and this little Boy Scout, and he really doesn't have that much of a fan base outside of people who really love the character. Do you think this movie helps cement him in another way, like really change the idea that people have about Superman, and how does it change the idea that people have about Superman right now?
Yes, I believe it's going to, very much so. The one thing about Superman in past live action, I think, which is very present in the comic books, but for some reason don't make a live action, is the humanity of it. What makes him really special is that although he's this alien, he's so very human at the same time. And we're really bringing that to people's attention in this movie. It's very much based in reality. People will be able to associate with his pain, and therefore his decision-making process. And because he experiences that pain, when he makes what is perceived as a good decision or a decision for good, it makes it mean more, as opposed to, well, of course he's doing the good things, he's Superman. So yeah, to answer your question, I genuinely think this is going to change the way people who aren't just mega fans of the character, it's going to change the way they look at it.
Can I just follow up real quick? Can you name me a few comics that you read just to like get into the character?
Yeah, my favorites were Death of Superman, The Return of Superman, Red Sun, and Superman, Batman, Search for Kryptonite.
Awesome. Thanks.
Gracias. La siguiente pregunta es de Jorge Alberto Rodríguez, de Rock 101.
Welcome. What was the casting process for this film, and what was the pressure like to be playing such an iconic character? And well, it's been said recently that there won't be a confirmation for a sequel until they see results on this movie. But assuming there will be, are you on board for it? And do you know if Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan would be on board for it? And finally,
write this down, please.
If it had anything to do with this movie, would you be on board for a Justice League film?
The casting process was very short, actually. Normally for these kind of things in the past, it's been weeks and months of meetings and auditions, and finally a screen test or two even. And this one I had an audition December 2010, and then a screen test in January, and then I had a job by the end of January. So it was very, very fast moving. And any pressures I felt, I'd been through this before with a previous incarnation of Superman, which never made it to the screen. And I'd already lost it once. So I wasn't fearful of losing it again. This was just like a second chance. And so there was no pressure for myself on that side. And when it came to getting the role and the pressure which I potentially may feel from everyone else, I didn't dwell on that. I decided that if I was going to pay heed to external pressures, it's going to negatively affect my career or my performance. And so I just focused on the pressure I was going to put on myself to do the job to the best of my ability. No, we don't know if there's any sequels happening just yet, but if they do happen, I would love to keep on telling this story because I love the character, I put a lot into it, and I share something with the character now because of what I went through. Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan, I have no idea whether they'll be involved again. I really hope so, because without them this movie wouldn't be what it is. And Justice League, it could be an amazing story, but it's got to be very carefully told. You can't just say, okay, Man of Steel's out now, and now we're going to have Justice League, because they're too powerful a character. If you have all of a sudden a world, filled with these godlike characters, it's just not going to make sense. And the whole point of what we've done with Man of Steel is a base in reality. And so there's got to be a gentle introduction to that so Justice League makes sense. But yes, if done properly, I very much want to be a part of it. Thank you.
Gracias. La siguiente pregunta la va a hacer Rubén Armenta, de Cine Extremo.
Hola, bienvenido a México. La pregunta es, ¿cómo veías antes a Superman y a los cómics? De hacer la película y ahora que hiciste la película, ¿cómo ves a Superman y los cómics?
This is going to sound like a very boring answer, but I saw him exactly as I played him. I've always viewed the character that way. I was never a comic book fan growing up, but I never understood why people thought Superman was boring. He's the very fact that he does or tries to do the right thing at all times makes him incredibly interesting, because someone who just does bad stuff or cool stuff or is sarcastic, to me that's boring. And I always realized he was this lonely soul who just wanted to do the best that he could for everyone around him. So nothing's changed in my opinion. I just got a more complex view of him because I got to live in his shoes for a bit.
Gracias. Ahora le pedimos a Gerardo Gil, de ABC Radio, que haga la siguiente pregunta. Entonces, que siempre es importante. ABC Radio, Gerardo Gil.
¿Qué tal? Bueno, acabas de comentarnos que no sabes si va a haber una segunda parte. De haberla, ¿qué te gustaría explorar del personaje? ¿Qué te gustaría que estuviera escrito en el personaje a ti como actor?
Very good question, and I would love to give a very complex answer, but it would take forever, and I'd need to put more thought into it to actually do it justice. Simply, just the idea now that the world knows who he is, and he can allow himself to be that. For the first time, we see it in the movie, him allowing himself to be that, but that's just the first time, and now we get to see him. If we were to have another two, we would get to see him indulge in that and enjoy it, and then the questions he has to ask himself about being this godlike being, and openly so, and just his interaction with humanity, because although humanity's okay with him when he's saving the day, what about when he's not? How do they feel? What questions are they still asking? So, that kind of thing.
La siguiente pregunta corresponde a CEO Noticias. Le pedimos a Noemí Carrillo que la haga.
Hola, Brian. Henry, bienvenido a México. Dos preguntas. ¿Cómo fue trabajar con Amy Adams? Y si me pudieras contar alguna anécdota.
Can I tell you an anecdote? I'm really terrible at anecdotes, purely because most of the stuff that happens on set that I find funny or makes a good story, I'd never repeat in public. Working with Amy, though, was absolutely fantastic. She's an incredible person, great energy, wonderful, very professional, but as importantly, she's an incredible actress. And so working with her was very, very easy. You'd wake up in the morning, you'd go to set and, be laughing and goofing around with Amy. And then when it comes to the work portion, it's serious, dead serious. And we do our stuff and then cut happens and then we relax together. And that kind of environment to work in is very healthy and it just begets good work.
Toca el turno a Ricardo Manjarres de TV Azteca Ventaneando.
Hi, Henry. First of all, welcome to Mexico. I want to know what you think about this silly myth that says that every single actor that plays Superman gets a curse. What do you think about that?
Well, Dean Cain, Tom Welling, and Brandon Ruth seem to be in perfect health, so I don't really want to do it.
La siguiente es la crónica de hoy. Le pedimos a Eduardo Gutiérrez.
Welcome to Mexico. Over here, sorry, not because of the cameras.
Sorry, where are you today? Over where? Oh, okay, you're wearing black with a black background, so I didn't see that.
I would like to know if there is some message that you wanted to send with this film to all the world that is living now a crisis. I mean, what's your idea about the characteristic that a superhero needs to have right now? And if there was a moment that you hesitate in playing this character. Thank you very much.
The message to send to the world is quite simple. It's the same message the character's been sending since his invention, and also every other mythological character that's been created by mankind, is hope. There's always hope, there's always a chance. Just keep on struggling, don't lie down and let adversity beat you down. And what was the last part of the question, sir?
Did you have any hesitate about playing this character?
No, I didn't hesitate at all. I think you'd have to be a crazy person to hesitate, because it's such an amazing opportunity. The character is so rich, and you work with Zack Snyder, Chris Nolan, and Warner Brothers. If I were to have hesitated, I think I would have to have a word with myself and say maybe check myself into an asylum, because the opportunity is just amazing. And now here, sitting at the end of it, definitely made the right call.
De Comic Manía para TV Radio Online, Carlos Moisés.
Hi, as you can see from my t-shirt, I'm the comic geek in the room. So I'm going to sit down so people don't yell at me.
Okay.
So the thing is, I'm going to have to ask the really key question. I love the movie, I adored it, and I think it's going to make people that don't like Superman anymore like it now. Now, let's say that you make a second movie, and I know they will. Who would you like to fight as Superman in this movie, like out of all the characters, like Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Brainiac? And where do you see the Lois Lane Clark Kent relationship going or evolving to in the next movies?
Very good question.
Thank you.
I think I'd like there to be an introduction to a character like Brainiac. I wouldn't want to come in direct conflict with Brainiac immediately, because I would like that to be further down the line. But perhaps it's like sort of the tendrils of his consciousness affecting Earth in some way, shape or form. Maybe the whisperings of Kandor would be very good, so it gives Kal-El some hope himself. And Lois Lane and Clark, Cal, it's an interesting one. I would like it to be explored as a very new thing and not a simple thing, and also without the obvious choices and decisions. In that kind of relationship, relationships are tough enough as it is, but in that kind of relationship where one of you is a godlike being, it's gonna create some questions. And so I'd like those questions to be raised and not just make it like a simple story of affection, but a genuine, real life story.
Thank you.
Well.
Tenemos tiempo para algunas preguntas más. Si alguien de ustedes gusta hacer la siguiente pregunta.
Funny. Henry, ¿qué tomaste para este personaje de Christopher Reeve? ¿Qué recuerdas de él como Superman y qué te inspiró para darle forma a tu personaje?
The important thing for me when I was researching this role and working out how I wanted to play it was not to have another actor's interpretation affect mine. I wanted to go directly to the source material, and the source material mine is the comic books. The past live-action movies were other actors' interpretations, and they were amazing at what they did, but I wanted this to be very different. And Zach, Chris, and myself, and David, we all wanted to make sure that the way we approached this movie was like no other movie or TV show beforehand had existed. And I followed that route. What was the last part of the question, sorry? Wait, the translation.
Sobre su inspiración de Christopher Reeve, si hubo alguna inspiración.
Oh, I can't hear you back there, sorry. What inspired me to give life to my character? There's so much to the character. Oh, sorry, I can hear you translating my ear. There's so much to the character that it wasn't like there was any one thing that inspired me to give life to him. It was just that I felt it hadn't been told in a way that a modern audience can associate with.
Para las siguientes preguntas, por favor, si nos pueden decir su nombre y el medio al que representan. Vamos con la siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Hola, buenos días. Soy Robert para Cine. Bienvenido a México. Mi pregunta es esta. Cada actor que ha interpretado a un personaje icónico como Superman pasa a la historia. ¿Qué se siente pasar a la historia como un Superman que es distinto a todos porque cruza un límite?
Well, it's kind of shocking when you say it that way. It's an honor, a genuine honor. I really hope this affects people in the way that we hope it does, and it provides just great entertainment at the same time. Yeah, just a genuine honor, and it's one of those things which I'm just going to have to experience as it happens.
Gracias.
Pasamos a la siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Edmundo de Algarabía, ¿tiene el micrófono?
Iván acá, perdón. Vamos a
Vamos a aquel lado.
Marta Rocha de Entertainment SG.
Gracias.
Por favor. En la película nunca se nombra al personaje como Superman. ¿Cuál fue la razón? Siempre hablan del hombre de acero.
Well, he's not really referred to as anything in the movie apart from the alien. And it's Superman, this is an origin story. Superman is something which we have become accustomed to as a character name, and we're treating this like the world has never seen or experienced Superman. And so naturally, we wouldn't call him that in this movie. If we all discovered, we switched on the news after this and we found out there was an alien living amongst us who was vulnerable and could fly and we couldn't control and had been doing so for 33 years, we wouldn't then immediately call him Superman. We'd call him an alien. And that's the important thing. That's the reason why we haven't called the movie Superman, is because it's an origin story and quite simply we would not have found that.
Ahora sí vamos con nuestro
Sí,
compañero.
buen día, Edmundo de Algarabía. Mi pregunta sería esta. Tú vienes de una serie haciendo un papel casi del Hardball del School, de los Tudor, y estás trabajando con Amy Adams, que es una princesa de Disney. ¿Cómo crees que el público reaccione en esa combinación Hardball y cuento de hadas? Gracias.
Well, one thing which I think is great about audiences these days is that we're becoming more and more accustomed to the fact that actors are actors, and it doesn't necessarily matter which role they play. It's not going to define their next performance. And so Amy is that good that yes, she's played a Disney princess in the past, but you're going to see none of that in the movie.
Vamos aquí del lado derecho, por favor.
Hola, Hilda Ramírez de Isopixel. Bienvenido a México. Hace rato que estabas comentando que cuando Zach te llamó, decías que estabas jugando un videojuego. Me gustaría saber qué videojuego era. Y me gustaría saber otra cosa. ¿Cuál crees tú que es la diferencia entre hacer películas ahora con la tecnología que tenemos? Si para ti realmente sería, si tuvieras la posibilidad de hacerla, como fue en anteriores años varios, sin tanta tecnología.
I was playing World of Warcraft, first of all, and the difference with all the advanced technology we have these days is that it can help. Sometimes it ruins a movie, sometimes it's too much, and it becomes totally unbelievable. But if applied correctly to a great story, then it can do nothing but accentuate a point or make something just hit home that bit harder. Would I have done it in the past without the advanced technology? Yes, because I wouldn't have known about the technology we have today. But had I known? I don't know. There are still ways of telling it, very much so. This is just wonderfully done by Zack Snyder with his fantastic visuals, which has added that extra kind of, spice to the movie.
Vamos a la siguiente pregunta. Acá atrás, por favor.
Hola, buenos días. Eduardo Rueda de CB Televisión. En México y en el mundo hay una crisis de valores y Superman siempre ha sido el superhéroe por excelencia. ¿Qué le tenemos que seguir aprendiendo a Superman aparte de no decir nunca mentiras, de buscar el bien, etcétera?
Apart from not telling lies, I'm looking to do good. That the answers aren't always obvious. It's not always, the good option isn't always singular and right in front of you. And so explore the options and just do your absolute best to make the right decision for those around you and also to keep your own integrity intact.
Vamos con las tres últimas preguntas. Por favor, si puede ser una pregunta por medio, se los vamos a agradecer. Vamos allá.
Hey, I'm Juan Carlos from BG Zone. First of all, which are would you like to take the role of 007 in a future project or not?
Would I like to?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would like to, yeah. But that is down the line a long way, if it were to even happen, because I think Daniel's still got 2 movies left. So ask me again in, 5-6 years?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
La siguiente pregunta aquí del lado derecho, por favor.
Hola Henry, soy Cassandra Manjarres de People en Español. Quería preguntarte acerca de el acercamiento que tuviste cuando eras extra con el señor Russell Crowe y que posteriormente resulta ser tu padre en esta película. Ese mensaje de aliento que te dejó en aquel entonces, ¿cómo influyó para que tú hoy en día, siendo el protagonista, tengas de soporte a alguien que admirabas?
Well, my approach is just very straightforward and honest. I thought we're all standing here looking at him. It looks weird and it's rude, so I should go up and say hello at least, interact with him like a human being as opposed to anything else. And that support he gave me, that picture he gave me, where he said, "Dear Henry, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." It really did help keep me going. I mean, I had a great support base with my friends and family as well back home, who would say, keep on pushing. But every time I go to LA for 3 months at a time, work very, very hard to try and get a job. Lots of auditioning all the time, but not working, so obviously making no money. And then I go back to Jersey or London and work in a bar there until I made enough money to go back. Eventually, it starts to wear on you, and you start to question whether you should stay in the industry and whether you're not getting the jobs for the right reasons, and whether you can then learn to do the right things, or whether you're not getting the jobs for the wrong reasons, and whether you should actually just cut your losses and go do something else while you're still young. And that picture, every time I went home, always reminded me that it's not an easy journey. The 1,000 miles is just the first step, effectively. And so it just kept me taking those steps day by day to ultimately end up here, I suppose.
Vamos con la última pregunta, por el caballero de la segunda fila, por favor.
Hi, Henry. I'm Matías from cinesargentinos.com. I want to ask you about the catchphrase, the theme phrase of fight for truth, justice, and the American way that is not mentioned in the movie. That was a theme of discussion between the set with the makers, and what is your opinion about that?
I'm sure it was a discussion sort of with studio producers, writer and director. I wasn't privy to that discussion. I certainly had no input into it. What's my opinion? Well, I think truth and justice in the American way is one thing, but Man of Steel, Kal-El, Superman, Clark, whatever you want to call him, he's a universal superhero. he's not just for any one nation. He's there protecting the planet. He's not just protecting one place. He doesn't have, you know, any bias towards any one place. They're all aliens to him. Thank you.
Que tenemos dos preguntitas más, si alguien más gusta. Aquí atrás, por favor, del lado derecho.
Hola, Enrique del Tribunal de los Superbueyes. Mi pregunta es, hace rato hablaste que uno de los cómics que te gustó fue Batman Superman. ¿Te interesaría, bueno, Nolan dirigió las películas de Batman, la trilogía, y ahorita está involucrado en el proyecto de Man of Steel? ¿Te gustaría actuar junto con Christian Bale para hacer un Batman Superman?
I think it'd be very interesting. Christian Bale's a fantastic actor, and there's a lot of story there. There's a lot of potential, some very interesting stuff. Yes, I would. If that were to ever arise, I would jump the opportunity. So.
Ahora sí vamos con la última pregunta, por favor.
Hi, I'm Daniel Bla from Novelas here. Are you afraid of the heights? If you can cite me my cape.
Am I afraid of heights? No, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm more afraid of hitting the ground from a high height. But heights I'm okay with.
Los antiguos no están permitidos los autómatos. Bueno, pues con esto damos por terminada esta conferencia de prensa. Thank you very much, Henry, for being here. It's a pleasure.